Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown for the week of April 9th, 2018. My name is Trey, this is the Full Spectrum, and let's get started. So we start off this week with Seraph at the end 67, the door into puberty. Shinoa puts her foot on the door, blocking it, in what's probably the coolest scene this week. She then binds her demon. She tries to claim that one day Shinoa won't be able to hold back her desires anymore, for you. But Shinoa ignores her and joins the fight, and everybody, seems super excited to see Shinoa join in. She then comments on how saving his family is the desire you uses to live on, and internally asks you to teach her more about reasons to live. This shows that even with the quick, because I did see some people throwing a fit about how quickly the door opening was resolved, that she does, it has affected her. She is now thinking more about you and about the different things with her feelings about him and his desire to bring his family back, and how right now he is really the only thing she has that's keeping her focused and helping her stay alive. So that's always fun. We don't get to spend a lot of time in Shinoa's mind in this series, so it's nice to get to spend a little bit more time there. We also, of course, get to see you grab onto the angel and hold him down as Mika jumps in and knocks the trumpet away. And in the second coolest scene, we get to see Kimizuki show up with the drug and apologize and inject the angel. And what makes this really cool is that Kimizuki has been kind of like Shinoa, he's been kind of a back roll player. He hasn't had any big things to do lately. And so having him step forward after just asking a couple chapters ago if, why they had to keep doing this, if they had to keep fighting, and Gurren telling him that if they didn't, his sister's death would have been in vain. Having this moment now where, okay, he's accepted that and he's taking charge and he's helping. And he brings the drug to inject the angel. And when he does this, Cross shoots out of the angel's body after the angel's launched into the air. Kimizuki catches the angel. The angel himself may be down, but his creations are still around. And this was a really fun chapter, in my opinion. We got to spend some time with Shinoa. We got to spend some time with Kimizuki. We just got to see them doing things which we haven't got to see for a while now. So, that's always nice to see these characters get some fun panel time, as some have called it. But I'm looking forward to more. Hoping to see some more out of them in the future. Looking to see, Kimizuki really get to step up and have a good fight. I mean, the guy hasn't got a good fight all series, really, other than the one time when he fought back against Yu because the demon overtook him from his sword. So, one day, Kimizuki. One day. And one day we'll get to see Shinoa do some really cool stuff with that scythe again. One day. Maybe next chapter, because the angel's creations don't look happy about him getting drugged, so who knows. The next up, we have The Promised Neverland 82, Master of the Hunting Ground. Oh, man. This whole chapter is amazing for multiple reasons. The first one being that the kids, they know they need to stick to the plan. They know they need to be focused on it. And we talked last week about how they weren't making the smartest decisions, but they're still children, and they don't want to desert each other. And so Nigel saves Gillian, and when he tries to reprimand her about it, she reminds him that he's doing the same thing. He tries to tell her, hey, you need to go, the mission's the most important thing, and she says, yet here you are. Bayan calls them out on Luce's death, and congratulates them, which immediately, sets off Nigel, because how dare Bayan seem slightly offended that Luce is dead after all the people that Luce killed. But he then tells them that their friends put up a good fight as well, which makes them think, of course, that Zack and Pepe are dead. Bayan has figured out, in a really cool scene, that somebody else is behind this. It must be one of the kids from some of the previous generations that have kept everything going. And so he's figured out basically who Lucas is, even though he doesn't know for sure who he is. And he wants to trick them into leading him to Lucas. So, of course, they run. And he's so much faster than they thought he was. He gets Gillian bad, just a nasty cut down her back, and then grabs her. And offers Nigel a choice. Give up the leader, or Gillian dies. And yet again, I talked about how I loved this chapter. You can see the moment where Gillian looks him in the eye and is like, don't you dare. They all knew this could happen. And so there's this great series of panels of Nigel having to decide to do this thing that he's about to do. And then he raises the gun to shoot Gillian and put her out of her misery. And Ban looks surprised. Ban actually looks surprised that they would do this. And it's really cool because we didn't know these characters very well at all just a couple chapters ago. But now I feel like we have a really good understanding of Nigel and Gillian both. And, you know, right after we get this understanding, we get to see this heartbreaking scene of Nigel deciding that he's going to have to shoot her and put her out of her misery. And Ban, you know, tries to egg him on, tells him that she's losing a lot of blood. But right as he goes to fire, Pepe shows up with a smoke bomb. And they're able to get her back. Nigel shoots Ban in the hand. And they run off. And, you know, Nigel has Gillian on his back and they're running. But Ban won't be kept down for long. And even though Pepe has a plan, it probably won't take long for Ban to catch up. All in all, I'm very excited for the next chapter. I thought this was an amazing chapter. And I'm looking forward to see what happens next. So the fact that Ban was so much faster than they expected and was able to close that ground has me so excited for Luvis. Because Luvis has to be even more dangerous than Ban, or they wouldn't all respect him so much. And Nos and Noma were already faster than expected, but Ban was even faster than that. So, oh man, so excited. Next up we have We Never Learned 58. On a stormy night, a genius's heart isn't in X. A typhoon has canceled afternoon classes, and Furuhashi is being a bit weird. Yuiga tries to walk her home because he figured out something's a little weird. But they wind up at a restaurant because she doesn't want to go home quite yet. The restaurant, of course, needs to close early due to the typhoon. They wind up sharing convenience store noodles, and Yuiga's still a little worried about her. The typhoon hits. He pulls out his umbrella, which of course he has to share with her because she doesn't have one with her. And while they're walking with the umbrella, she tells him that her dad is home, and she doesn't want to go home just yet. We don't get to find out the whole story behind that, but we will eventually, I'm sure. But Furuhashi doesn't want to go home when her dad's home. And that's really sad. We don't know what the reason behind that is as to why she doesn't feel comfortable at home with her dad, but it's not great. And Yuiga picks up on that immediately and, tries to change the subject. And in changing the subject, he starts to think about how they're sharing an umbrella, like lovers. Almost immediately the umbrella breaks in the wind, and they wind up inside a cinema and watch a zombie movie when the power goes out. They're sitting there. The power's out. She accidentally touches his hand, and he tries to find out what's going on with her dad. Tells him that, she doesn't have to tell him. She doesn't want to, and she doesn't want to. So he tries to change the subject again, recapping the day, and tells her that it was like a date. She's shocked, of course, blushes, and then agrees. With the next cut we get is them after the typhoon. She's a lot happier, as she heads home and is thinking that her dad's probably fallen asleep by this point. We get to see the next day, some of her classmates ask about an ideal date spot. She responds with instant noodles at a convenience store. What I like about this the most is that we've gotten a lot of Furuhashi chapters that have her and Yuiga in compromising positions or with, locked away in a weird spot. But this chapter has just Yuiga and Furuhashi spending time together. And when they're spending time together, he notices something's not right, and she realizes that he's noticed. She doesn't want to tell him what's going on because she doesn't want to talk about it, which is fine, it's understandable. And so he tries to brighten the day. And she finds over the course of this day together that her day is brighter when he's there. And what this really sets the stage for is the rest of the interactions they have. Because now when they're going to be having the big moments where Ogata and Takamoto are both trying to flirt with Yuiga and also trying not to flirt with Yuiga at the same time, Furuhashi is going to be in there feeling conflicted. And we've seen for a long time that Furuhashi probably had feelings for him, but was pushing them down so that she wouldn't be in the way of Ogata or Takamoto. But now she's not going to be able to really do that anymore. She's had a date. And she had fun. And her ideal date right now is what she had with Yuiga. So it's going to make things a little bit more complicated coming up. And, complication is not always a bad thing when it comes to a harem series. But this was fun. I liked this chapter a lot. And it also gave us more insight into what's going on with Furuhashi and with her dad and everything there. That there is a bigger story there. And maybe it gives us more of an understanding why she clings to the memory of her mother so much. And why stories are so important to her when stories are what her mother told her. If I had to guess, because again, we don't know enough yet, but if I had to just take a shot in the dark, I would say that because her mother died and was sick and in the hospital, and her mother died, we know that much already, that maybe her dad turned to alcohol. Again, we don't know that for sure. Maybe he's just a really strict dad. She makes the comment that he might already be asleep, and it's not super late. It looks like the sun is still out when they leave the cinema after the skies have cleared, although that could just be, black and white manga panel. But it looks like it's still not super late. So that's where my assumption of maybe alcohol comes in that maybe he drank himself to sleep. But at the same time, it could also just be that he's extremely strict because he's having to raise her himself, and he works late. Or he works late into the night and had to work in a day shift as well. There's a lot of things that we don't know for sure. So, till we find out more, I don't really want to speculate too much, but this was good. This was really good for Furuhashi, because we didn't know that much about her dad, we didn't know that much about her situation with her dad, and now we have a lot better of a much better understanding of where she's at, even if we don't know that much about the story. And she has a better understanding of her feelings for Yuiga, so, I've been on We Never Learn almost as much time as I was on both the two previous series, so I'll move on. Next up we have Robot Laserbeam 52, Robo Malfunctions. Robo doesn't understand what's going on. He's legitimately confused. But Genro's figured it out. He and his caddy have both noticed something's weird, so he follows all the advice that he's given. Robo is now 2 down and just cannot understand what's going on. He's so distracted, he walks into the pond. Don Okuma, of course, taunts both golfer and caddy, because he's, the stereotypical villain man. And Tomiya is beating himself up because he can't figure it out. What is going on? He does eventually figure it out, and tells Robo to hit with his eyes closed. Can Robo get back into form now, or will he struggle? Robo has to go take a shower, of course, after he fell into the pond, so there was some time for him to clear his head as well, but I'm assuming, because it hasn't been stated yet, but it's pretty clear, it's an optical illusion. The course is set up in a way that makes it look like the distance is one thing, but it's actually another. That's a really clever non-trap, but at the same time, I still hate the idea of non-traps, so we'll see how it goes. The fact that Tomiya's figuring it out, though, means that this is also a really good step, and a really important step for him as a caddy. We also get a really cool moment where Genro is clearly not happy that, he's not able to have this one-on-one competition with Robo the way he wanted, but his caddy points out that if they're not able to figure this out, and we have, it's not unsportsmanlike. They're just not as good as we are. So, at least Genro gets to still have a good match. Well, sort of good match. But we'll see how it goes. I think Robo will probably pull it out, and I think this will make Tomiya a better caddy than he was before. Next up, we have Dr. Stone 53, Hard Knocks Crafting Club. The crafting team is put to work again, as they now need to store the power that they have from the hydroelectric power plant. With a battery made, they can store the energy and free up Kinro and Genro to train, and even Kinro seems happy. Apparently, running back and forth was not exactly what he wanted to spend his day in. Kiseki and Chrome are worn out, but once they see a blueprint that Senku makes, they get excited again. Because, how can they not? They're craftsmen. That's what they do. They work the bellows and set them up automated as well, using the power, and this makes the whole village happy. Because now they don't have to run the bellows anymore. But now that also means they can focus on getting food for winter, which is good. It fixes the manpower problem they had. While Senku focuses on that, Gin shows the villagers how to bottle food, how to make wine by mashing grapes. Gin, has really come into his own as a supporting member of Senku's Kingdom of Science. And the bottling that will lead to canning and making wine by mashing grapes will give them a lot more options for stored foods than they would have had before. We also see Kaseki put into words what everybody else is feeling, that life's gotten a lot rougher since Senku arrived, but also more fun. Then they use Mercury to vacuum out the light bulbs they're working on, because that was the next thing they were working on, and they finished the design on Christmas Day by lighting up the biggest tree around. Honestly, light in this dark world that doesn't involve fire is such a good idea, because the whole reason that their village was able to be burned was because they were using torches to light everything so they could see. Really? Did you guys just really do that? Just gonna knock down Kylo like that? Can you believe they would just knock down Kybro like that? Regardless, not having to rely on fire to give light will make the village a lot safer, and will also allow them to have, a little bit more dangerous of a situation, because now they'll have light bulbs. And light bulbs means that they can store electricity in a whole different way. So there's a lot of things they can do from there with filament. A lot more options that it'll give. And the whole village is super happy to see this light. It's super cool to them to be able to light up the sky without fire. I'm glad the cats are having fun, but if they knock down Kyburo again, we're going to have a problem. Seeing this, though, Chrome gets an idea. Mining with light, using the light bulbs to mine the things they still need to get all the rest of the stuff they need to make the cell phones. And Senku and Gin hadn't even considered that. So, again, we see that Chrome and Kaseki both are huge helps, and that Senku wouldn't be able to get as far as he is now without them. All of these achievements have been built on the backs of everyone that is involved in here, in this situation. And it's really cool to see that every piece of the puzzle is important, when normally it would just be main character doing cool stuff. And Senku is doing cool stuff, don't get me wrong, but he couldn't do it without the help of everybody in the village. And it's really cool to see that they've grown together this way. And that Chrome is no longer that weird guy that has to live outside the village, It's really cool. Next up we have Food Wars 258, Super Specialty. Everyone is dead set that this is not an appetizer, but Soma insists it is. Even Rendo tries to lecture him about it. And his cartoonish-looking hunk of meat is actually a pate, and very well made using yakiniku sauce. Soma always has to use some ingredient that people think is worthless, or not that great, or not that useful in professional cooking to do something really cool with. He even injected some consomme into it. Azami doesn't want to praise it, but the gifting sticks in, and everybody sees it, and then he's kind of forced to. And he compares it to Shinomiya's cooking, which is actually a huge compliment. And Soma exclaims that this is true Yukihira cooking. Azami then tells him that this is worth being called a specialty, but since it doesn't pair with a main dish, he's ruined the course. Of all people, Aizen is the first one to ask, someone must have a scheme, right? And of course he does. He turns to Arina and begins to egg her on, tells her that she now has to make a dish better than his dish, that that's the only one that will win, that the one that Tsukasa made was better than anything she made last night, but that she hasn't shown anybody her specialty. And in a way, this match is now between them. Then he cliffhangs the chapter with a challenge for her to make a super specialty. I love this so much. I love the idea that Soma knew that the two of them, as skilled as they are, would never be able to just work together this way, and would have to challenge her to get her to do her best. Not because she's not a great chef, because she is. She's an amazing chef. She's probably a better chef than Soma. But Arina only really shines when she's giving her all, and she only really gives her all when she's fighting Soma. And so him egging her on, turning this team competition into a match, it's exactly what they needed. And I love the dynamic these two characters have. And that deep down Arina is like super mad that he didn't want to follow the decisions they made, but at the same time, this is the only Soma choice that ever would have been made. And deep down, she's super happy that he's still being Soma. Because there's no way she'd ever be happy if he was just always doing what she told him to do. So, this was a really great chapter. Really excited to see what Arina comes up with. Excited to see her reaction to all of this. And, I love these characters. I don't say it enough, I think, but the food is not what Food Wars is about. Shokugeki no Soma is about the characters. And these characters are great. Next up, we have Black Clover 152, Troublesome Woman. Raya tells Leona that they want those swords and that grimoire that Estes got back, so they need to bring them because they belong to Lich. And if she's going to get in the way, he's going to kill her. Asta, of course, wants to go back, but Zora explains they can't waste her sacrifice. It's actually a really powerful scene for Zora, too, because it's clear that he also wants to go back and help Leona, but knows that there's nothing they can do. Mario Leona is hard-pressed, but she holds her own for a good little while here before Raya gets in a sneaky hit, and it looks like for a moment cuts her down. She counterattacks again, though, and hits Raya just head-on with a blast. She then counters his ideology as well, where he wanted to stop her from killing his companions. She states that if they're killing humans, they need to hurry up and kill her. What I like about this chapter is that it's not just a fight between Mereoleona and Raya and the other elves. It's a fight between humanity and where Mereoleona views humanity versus the elves' ideology of, we have to protect our allies and kill the humans, because they're the worst. And the fact that Mereoleona is fighting this losing battle, not trying to change Raya's mind, but trying to stop Raya from killing her allies, while Raya is talking about how he won't let her kill his allies. It drives home the fact that these are just people. They're not good guys or bad guys, even though you would say Mereoleona is a good guy and Raya is a bad guy. They're not good guys and bad guys. They're just people trying to protect their family and their friends. And Mereoleona's not going to let him kill Asta, because he's her subordinate. And Raya's not going to let her kill his friends. So they have to fight. And I just love the dynamic these two characters have. Honestly, yeah, Mereoleona's probably going to die. Raya is also probably going to die. But for just a little while, these two completely similar characters with two completely different backgrounds are on a level playing field, both trying to protect their friends. And I think that's really cool. So often in Shonen Jump, we just get, cliche bad guy who just wants to, destroy the world. And no, this is... Raya just wants to protect his friends. They finally got back together again. He doesn't want anything to happen to him, and he knows these humans will want their friends back, but too bad, these are my friends now. I understand where he's coming from. It doesn't make his view okay, but I understand where he's coming from. So, it's always my favorite kind of villain. And I didn't think Raya was going to be that, so that's really cool. Next up, we have My Hero Academia 178, The Woman Called La Brava. We get to see Kendo in her dress, but the beauty pageant won't be an easy win for anyone. Since Kendo, Nejire, and Kinranzaki are competing. Kinranzaki, by the way, has the longest eyelashes in the world. And those, I hope, are tied to her quirk. If so, that'll be a pretty cool quirk, if we ever even see it do anything. But still, it was pretty cool to see her eyelashes just reaching out to poke Nejire. We also see All Might calling Deku the boy, and Midnight knowing exactly who he was talking about. One thing I love about this the most is that for All Might, Deku has become the boy. Deku is as good as a son to him now. And he's the boy. That's just what he thinks of him as. Nobody else is above Deku. It's Deku. And yes, we knew that. But Horikoshi was able to find a way to, remind us all of that without it being, super cheesy of, All Might grabbing his shoulder and telling him, how much he appreciates him. Although, honestly, that scene would probably still be super emotional, because All Might, really cares about Deku. And just having him call him the boy, I immediately had to stop, and I was like, man, that's good. That's really good. Izuku sets the girder down, so somebody will notice that there's a problem, and then catches up to Gentle. Gentle tries to set up another barrier, but Deku can tell where they are now, and makes an amazing rebound shot that knocks Gentle down and then pins them both to the ground. We get to see a flashback of La Brava, and her real name, Monami Aiba, and how she got to where she is. It's actually really tragic that she tells this guy she likes him, and she gives a full document as to why she likes him, which may have been overkill, yeah, but the guy didn't need to make fun of her about it. Yes, that's how people are, and yes, that's very real, but man, That's terrible. So then, of course, she doesn't go to school anymore, and she stays up late all the time because she doesn't really have much left to live for. She even makes the comment that she's considered doing unspeakable things. But then she sees one of Gentle's videos, and how he's trying to give hope, and Gentle is literally her All Might. Oh man, that makes this a tough exchange. So then, when she tells Gentle she loves him again, and he thanks her, that activates her quirk, Love, which is potent. It is just a straight boost to all of Gentle's stats. Gentle goes to try and finish off Deku after he's, thrown Deku off, but Deku blocks the hit with his arm, and tells him he's fought plenty of people faster and stronger than Gentle, and he prepares another air blast. And what I love about this is that, people have called Deku crazy before because of his determination. They have called him a madman, some might say. But Deku will not give up because he is defending the school and defending everybody's goals and defending Eri's dreams and trying to keep everybody safe. He's fighting for his mom and All Might and all his friends and Eri. And he will not let Gentle stop that. And I'm sorry, but La Brava, your love's not going to be enough. Because Gentle's desire to be a star and La Brava's love for Gentle will not be enough to stop Deku now. And that was so clearly shown in how he blocks what should be a finishing blow that would have knocked him out and left him unconscious on the ground with his arm. He has come such a long way from when he fought Stain. And I'm so proud of him. So proud. Finally, for this week, we have Inishie no Horobimon, Ancient Ruin Crests by Hiroshi Shibaishi, who made Nurarichan no Mago, Nura Rise of the Yokai Clan, which is one of my favorite shonen series ever. So I was excited to see this one shot. He also mentions in the editor's notes at the end, or the author's notes, that he is working on a new series that he hopes to be in Jump soon. So I'm looking forward to that. I absolutely love Shibaishi's work. It's amazing. Shibashi is one of my favorite authors just because of the way that he's able to tell a story with casual and small details that, I think I just said small, but small details that really build up into a great whole. Just look at Rikuo versus Tsuchigumo for a fight where over the course of that fight you get to see Rikuo becoming stronger, and you get to see him mastering fighting against an opponent of Tsuchigumo's strength. It's a really good fight. Like when he fights Kidomaru, or even the early stuff against Mezumaru or Gyuki. So good at it. And so when we start off this series, we get to see Arama and Chiruha sealing some ancient crests that were once divine beasts. The Yaso create the crest, and the Hoshi seals them. That's makes sense. It works. Sure. Chiruha is treated like royalty at the shrine, while Arima is treated like dirt, since his clan is the one that let it happen. But it is his clan that's treating him like dirt. He seems to be the only one that cares about the shrine or about their duties, and everybody else kind of just wants to push the blame onto him or onto somebody else so it's not on them. Which, is again, very human. But doesn't make it any more fair for poor Arima. At school, Arima has a premonition of danger, and Chiruha doesn't sense anything, supposedly. He, of course, finds out later that she'd placed an incantation, and realizes that she left him out of the hunt. She conjures a copy of a crest, and he chases after it, only to realize that it was a copy after he catches it. Meanwhile, she faces down the real threat, and is losing. He saves her. She tells him he is impressive, but despite his weakness, he still wants to try and help. The crest is that of Komahime, the woman who would have been a concubine to Toyotomi Hidatsugu, which is really cool, because that's a really sad story, and it makes sense that there would be a spirit that left behind from there that wanted revenge. They try to work together, but the crest breaks Sumi Homura. Arima grabs the broken off blade, and Chiruha activates it as he swings, and takes down the ghost of Komahime, or the crest of Komahime. She tells him they can't just rely on that in the future, then realizes what she said, and he, of course, gets super excited because he's like, the future! And he accepts, of course. We then see him tied up and being beaten with a broom as Chira tempers his spirit by lowering him into water and beating him. All in all, this was a really fun one-shot. I really liked it. There was a lot of cool stuff going on in it. Arima making his own weapons, and them all being makeshift and not super powerful, but still imbued with his own spiritual pressure. That was really cool. We got to see that, he just wants to live up to the memory and the legacy that's been left to him by his family, his clan. And the fact that the rest of the clan has kind of abandoned it only makes him want to work harder to make sure that that job is done. He wants to take responsibility for the mistakes that were made. And I think that's really cool. The fact that Chira kind of recognizes that by the end of this one-shot is also really nifty. I think that if the story were to continue, then we may get to see, more of these two characters working together and get to see them, become a little bit closer. Maybe even become friends. But as it is right now, this was a really fun one-shot. I would like more, but I'm satisfied with what I got. And knowing that these two characters would be out there working together, stopping these Crests. I'm not super sold on the Crest, as antagonist thing. I think it's a cool idea, but there doesn't really seem to be a lot of rules. I mean, it is a one-shot, so I didn't expect to get a lot of rules as to how the Crests work. But that one Crest is just kind of existing in the air and, swinging out with claws and stuff. And, I don't know. I didn't expect to get a full understanding of what Crest could and couldn't do in a one-shot, but it would have been nice to get a little bit more stability to it, because at one point I was wondering why the Crest didn't just fly away. However, it clearly had malevolent intent, and she had sealed it to that spot so that they could fight it. So, it's entirely possible it couldn't fly away, even if it wanted to. But all in all, it was fun. For the lightning round this week, Seraph of the N67, the door into puberty. This was a fun chapter. Shinoa kind of stopped that door opening that we were all kind of looking forward to happening. But at the same time, we got to see some more Shinoa, we got to see some more Kamizuki, so I was okay with that. The Promised Neverland 82, Master of the Hunting Ground. This was a great chapter, getting to feel more about the kids, having that amazing moment where it looks like Nigel might have to shoot Gillian, and he's going to do it. He's decided to do it. And then he doesn't have to do it. It was really good. Loved Bayan. Bayan's awesome. Looking forward to more. We Never Learned 58 on a Stormy Night. A Genius's Heart Isn't an X. Really fun chapter. Really good Furuhashi chapter that also gives us a better look into her family situation. Hoping to get more of that later, but for now I'm content with what we got, and this was a fun chapter all around. Robot Laserbeam 52, Robo Malfunctions. Again, I really hate the Dawn traps, but at the same time I'm going to give it a thumb up, because Robo walking into the pond because he's so distracted because he's upset about not figuring out what's going on was really funny, and I really enjoyed that. And getting to see Tomoya, get better at his job as caddy is also really nice. So, Dr. Stone 53, Hard Knocks Crafting Club, give it another thumbs up. This was a fun chapter, getting to see the light bulbs, getting to see things continue, getting to see Chrome get to be a part of everything still, and getting to see everybody appreciating Senku. Really enjoyed it. Food Wars 258, Super Specialty, 2 thumbs up. This chapter was great. I loved it. Everything about Soma and his dish, and him calling out Erina like that. Really good. Black Clover 152, Troublesome Woman. Great, again, I loved it. It was short, but it really set the stage for who Raya and Leona are, and having this cool dynamic of the two of them against each other, and their two clashing, very similar ideologies, really standing out like that. I really loved that. My Hero Academia 178, a woman called La Brava. Again, 2 thumbs up. I loved this chapter. Absolutely loved having Deku just stand strong after that and seeing how far he's come. And then finally, Inishie no Horobimon, Ancient Ruin Crest. This was pretty good. I enjoyed it. There was some stuff that I wasn't super down for. Some stuff that I was a little confused about, but for the most part, I really liked it. So, looking forward to whatever's next from Hiroshi Shibashi. So, until next time, though, I've been Trey. We'll be back with another exciting episode of the Weekly Shonen Jump Breakdown next week. Remember to always enjoy the full spectrum that Jump has to offer.